Well, thank you, and I appreciate my colleague from Arizona, Ms. Enema, for doing this, and it is really something that we need to highlight more. I think this is something as we move forward, and I'm glad to be here tonight. I forgot that this was the night that you were going. I had another something we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, but this is perfect, sort of in a timing with it, as we do this because it's so important. The issues that we deal with and the seriousness of this topic is the stigma and being still in the Air Force and being looking at how the military has dealt with this issue is something that is frustrating for those of us who do it all the time. I was in the Navy for a short time, got out for a little bit, went back in the Air Force, and in my 15, 16 years in the military, we've been through like 4 different programs on how to help service members with suicide. And the bottom line is we don't need more, courses. We need just more care for our airmen and our soldiers and our sailors and looking at it from a perspective of caring about the other person. It's not a course. It's caring. It's looking at signs and knowing that there are people who are out there hurting, but also taking into account, as I've heard many of the speakers tonight talk about, and that being the issue of mental health. My daughter, who I love dearly, has spina bifida. And if she were to roll into this, she cannot walk. She's not walked at all since birth. She's paralyzed from the waist down. If she was to roll in here tonight or roll anywhere, one of the first things that we see so many times is people react with sympathy a little bit toward Jordan. She's in a wheelchair, and it's sort of natural. When you see somebody with a handicap or something that is not normal, even Mr. Speaker, they react with sympathy. But my question is what is the difference in someone who has a visible need, if you would, and the reaction that we get when someone says, "My mind is hurting"? Sympathy doesn't come many times then. We believe you can just shake it off and move on. And mental health is an issue that is not just shake off and move on. It's something that should say that if someone comes to us and says, "I'm struggling, I'm depressed, or I have these problems," that we reach out in loving kindness, just as we would to a sweet young lady who happens to roll in life and not walk, my daughter. But when we reach out in love, when we reach out in compassion, we begin to break the darkness that those who are contemplating suicide feel. Studies have said, what is it, for those who have thought about suicide or attempted suicide, the questions were asked, what did you feel? What was it like on the moment that you were thinking about this or when you were struggling with it? And the one that I've heard so many other just people that shared their own personal feelings, but one person stuck out to me one time. They said that they felt like that they were sort of in blinders on all sides, and all they saw was like a billboard that said, "You have no hope." That's all they saw. It is our job as human beings, not partisan, not Republican, Democrat, politician, non-politician. It is our job as human beings to look at each other as we say and believe that every life is a gift from God. And if every life I believe is a gift from God, then every life has value. And no matter what the situation may be, we're to respond in love. So tonight, I thank the gentlelady for taking this time, just a moment as we share. There's a lot of bills, there's a lot of solutions, there's a lot of things that we could come to. But I think the greatest thing that we can just have in a time when we think about suicide, we think about our veterans, we think about those in our lives that may be struggling with mental health and other problems, is to simply maybe look for those, what I call the unexpected times when you're ready to go do something and something interrupts you. What I call sometimes maybe the divine interruption. Those times when somebody that you haven't thought about in a while comes to your mind. That time when a coworker or a friend comes to you and says, "I'm not feeling right." Instead of rushing to our day and going to the next meeting and going to the next place, Mr. Speaker, maybe we just need to stop and say, "How about a cup of coffee? How about a glass of water? How about I just sit here and let's talk about it?" Because when we can break the tunnel vision that there is no hope, if you can begin to chip at that tunnel, then the light will come in and they will see that others care. To me, that's the greatest call of our humanity, is to show love for others. For one to take their own life because they believe they are unloved is a situation that we all need to fight against. And I'm thankful to have the opportunity to highlight that tonight. And with that, I